Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Paddocks. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite teams, Alpine. On the episode, we have Melissa, Hanna, Rachel, LeAnne in the background, and myself behind the scenes. And I'm just going to pass it off to Rachel to start us off.
So Alpine has a pretty long history in F1. Originally, they were competing as Tollman from 1981 until 1986 when the team was purchased by Benetton Group and subsequently renamed to Benetton. And as Benetton, the team won the Constructors' Championship in 1995, and driver Michael Schumacher won his 1994 and 1995 World Drivers' Championships with the team. In 2000, Renault purchased the team and by 2002 had rebranded fully to the Renault F1 team. 2005 and 2006 were particularly successful years with the team winning the Constructors' Championships and driver Fernando Alonso winning the World Drivers' Championship both years. The team gained a new sponsor in 2011, Lotus Cars, and the team name was then changed to Lotus Renault GP, but it was still referred to as Renault by most. However, from 2012 to 2015, the team name was Lotus F1 Team since Jenny Capital had a majority stake in the team, and they changed the name. And then by the end of 2015, Renault had taken over the majority stake for the second time, renaming the team to Renault Sport Formula One Team. And the team raced as Renault from 2016 until 2020. And I'm going to pass it off to Melissa to tell us more about Alpine's involvement in Formula One over the years.
So the sports car manufacturer Automobiles Alpine involvement in F1 can be traced back all the way to the year 1968. Then the Alpine A350 Grand Prix car was made. The car itself was powered by a Gordini V8 engine. However, once the initial tests were completed with Mauro Bianchi at Zandvoort, the project was put to a stop, and this was due to the engine only producing 300 horsepower compared to the Cosworth V8 engine's 400 horsepower. I'm guessing in car terms, that's pretty fast. And by 1975, the manufacturer went on to produce the Alpine A500 prototype to test a 1.5 liter V6 turbo engine for the Renault factory team that later on made its debut in 1977. And a fun fact for those who didn't know, while Alpine/Renault was the main engine supplier for the Red Bull F1 team, and with that engine, Red Bull was able to achieve 4 consecutive championship wins. However, due to some technical difficulties, Red Bull did decide to change their engine supplier by 2019. And by September 2020, Group Renault had announced that they would be using Alpine as their team's new name going forward to promote the brand more. So while retiring the Renault F1 team name, after 5 years, Alpine F1 team was born.
So in 2021, the newly minted Alpine signed Fernando Alonso to replace Daniel Ricciardo, who was leaving the team for McLaren, and they retained Esteban Ocon from the 2020 team. And prior to the 2021 season, team boss Cyril Abiteboul announced his departure from the team as they made the transition to Alpine. Laurent Rossi replaced him to manage the Alpine brand, and Davide Brivio and Marcin Budowski were to manage the team as team principals. The team's first race of the 2021 season was not ideal, with Alonso having to retire after his car was hit by debris, which caused the car to overheat. And then Esteban Ocon had a collision with Sebastian Vettel from Aston Martin. They did make a comeback the following 15 races, scoring points in each one, and Esteban Ocon achieving his first victory in F1 with the team at the Hungarian Grand Prix. His victory was also the first victory by a French driver in a French car, powered by a French engine, since Alain Prost's win at the 1983 Austrian Grand Prix. Fernando Alonso also got a podium that season at the Qatar Grand Prix, coming in third behind Lewis Hamilton in first and Max Verstappen in second.
But before the start of the 2022 season in January, it was announced that both team principal Marcin Bukowski and non-executive director Alan Prost would be leaving the roles. So then it was announced that Otmar from Aston Martin F1 team would be the team principal for the upcoming season. Some other changes were made before the season started, included the former deputy secretary general for the sport at the FIA, Bruno Femin, would be the team's executive director at the Viry Châtillon. Essentially, he was responsible for the power unit development of the car itself. Also, Oscar Piastri replaced Daniel Kvyat as a team's test driver. A little bit more on him in a bit. And finally, in February, BWT became the title sponsor of the team. Esteban Ocon and Fernando Alonso continued to be the driving pair for the team this season. And the team's best season or best moment of the season was when Alonso had qualified in P2 at the Canadian Grand Prix behind Max's P1. However, for the race itself, he had some issues and finished just in the points at P9. The team ended in ninth place in the constructors' standings with 173 points.
And now let's talk about 2023. So Fernando Alonso moves to Aston Martin, and in comes Oscar Piastri. No, wait. That was actually denied as Alpine misspoke too early before contracts were officially signed. Anywho, after that fiasco went down, we have our new lineup: Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon for the 2023 season, where old rivals now become teammates? Never know. First time for everything. So this year, there was also a CEO change at Alpine where Laurent Rossi was replaced by Felipe Krief, along with Alpine also announced that Otmar and the sporting director Alan Premin will leave the team as well. That's not all. So, Chief Technical Officer Pat Fry ended up actually leaving the team at the end of the year to join Williams as well. So, they have had a lot of management changes this year, or maybe the past couple years. I don't know. Overall, Alpine had a good midfield seasons, sometimes upper midfield. Good racing year in Formula One, or probably filled of inconsistency, but hey, that happens. They ended up finishing sixth overall in the constructors and even had a podium by both Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly, where they both got third place. Esti Besti at Monaco and Pierre at the Dutch GP. So it was okay, but it could have been better. Now, kind of to round out 2023, I think we all can agree that Esteban Ocon's performance in Monaco will honestly be fondly remembered, as that third place was a result of a very impressive showing across that whole weekend. And having qualified fourth the previous day was just incredible to see from a driver who, today, if I'm not mistaken, first time on the podium, which is pretty incredible. And he was like freaking excited and happy, and like it's like a kid at a candy shop. Like, oh my god, the best thing in the world is coming true. Like, holy grail. But now that we've kind of talked 2023, we have some other fun topics where we're going to talk about the future of Alpine and maybe some recent sponsorships.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how the team performs this upcoming season, because I feel like Esteban and Pierre, if nothing was going on with their car, like causing a DNF, they were just kind of like just moving in silence and just under the radar. And like out of nowhere, you just noticed they were just like in the top 10 randomly. And you're just like, oh, okay. It was either like Pierre, Esteban, or both. And it's just kind of like, it was kind of like nice to see them up there. I enjoyed seeing them up there, especially when they each got their podium finishes in the last season. But with all the changes in their management and everything, I'm hoping it hopes that it works for the best of the team, because I feel like management, does greatly impact everyone under, including the drivers. So you definitely need a good leader, and hopefully this upcoming one, I forgot who it was. Unfortunately, I apologize on my end, who's the current team principal, but I'm hoping for a good season and whole no drama for them, especially given Pierre and Esteban's history.
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hilarious where you mentioned the drama part because there have been times throughout the 2023 season where they were really head to head. There was times where like one was in ninth and one was in 10th, and you literally just see them like fight to the end to see like who's going to get points or who's not, or the time that they crashed into each other. I couldn't imagine being that team principal telling them, do not get in a fight. Do not go against each other. And then, bam, that happens.
It just keeps reminding me of Esteban's race engineer in Brazil in 2022. Yeah, 2022, where he's like, Esteban, I do not want you fighting with Fernando. But now it's just Pierre. And I still maintain that they should send them to some kind of like couples counseling or something. Just have like an on-site couples counselor. Just kind of work it out. I'm interested to see what happens though with Ryan Reynolds, having gone into sponsorship. We got that news in June 26th. And I mean, we saw what he did with the Wrexham team in England. I'm very interested to see if everything goes with Alpine.
Yeah, so for all of my people who do not know, so Otro Capital Group ended up investing a huge sum into Alpine, which consisted of some pretty major people, famous people, aka, as like Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. I'm sorry if I said his name wrong. And then there was also Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey, and I believe Roy McAlary, who is a soccer like star, ended up investing in it with Otmar, and pretty much a lot of them, and they have like a 25% stake into the company, and they invested like over $200 million to like improve Alpine and become like the team that they are. So I'm hoping that like makes Alpine better. I don't know.
All I know is when I saw the announcement with Ryan Reynolds, I was really hoping for Esteban or Pierre to come up with the Deadpool helmet. I'm sorry, I cannot talk. It's been a long day of talking for me. And when it finally came out, I forgot what GP it was. It was either Vegas or it was like one of the one races around that time. But when I saw that Esteban actually made that Deadpool helmet and did the little whole video with Ryan Reynolds and everything, I was living because I'm a very big Marvel fan, and Esteban being a Marvel fan, I was just like, this just works out so perfectly. So really, really love that. Hoping for more of that. Maybe a Wolverine helmet this upcoming season. Who knows? It's all in like that X-Men Marvel universe.
All I know is the one benefit of being now a minority stakeholder into a large team is you just get autonomous F1 passes to the paddock. Um, and that's got to be freaking amazing. But in regards to like the Wolverine helmet, I would love to see like a Spider-Man helmet because that man is absolutely obsessed with Spider-Man, and I find it so cute.
He already had one the previous season.
What?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go look this up.
I think it was a
I
Coda.
remember that.
He had a Coda or something like that. I remember because I was just like, yes. But I would love more. There's a lot of spider, as we all know. There's variants, so we can always have different versions.
Oh, he did.
I think it would be cool if he did like an Into the Spider-Verse helmet. It's not just like the Spider-Man, but like it's like the whole. I think that would be really cool. We know our boy loves Spider-Man.
But now that we've talked recent sponsorships and the changes of the team, how about this? I mean, has anybody else realized that in 2023, Alpine, Williams, and Haas seem to be setting themselves up as like the American teams with all these like people being brought in? I mean, Alpine just recently announced like a US driver in their Formula One Academy team. I think Leah. if I'm not mistaken, which then like kind of engraves it a little bit more with like their sponsorships. I find it so interesting because like I know the US base is growing, but I wonder if like that's like purposeful or if it's just like happening and everybody's just like buying into it.
I feel like it's maybe a little bit of both. Like they kind of definitely are recognizing that the American market is growing, and so they're on the lookout for things. So I definitely think that with the American market growing, they're like, okay, we need to maybe keep an eye out for American drivers, maybe some American sponsors that we wouldn't have considered before. Yeah, I definitely think that having Ryan Reynolds and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and all of those guys is going to be an interesting situation. I kind of want them to give Ryan a little bit of input on what the livery looks like. I just feel like that would be so interesting. Let him design a livery, one of the special liveries.
Or even better, when they do delivery presentation and everything, or when they do that whole spiel, Ryan, but it's Deadpool coming out to present a car for this year. Just imagine. I can just imagine that character just explaining like the pink version of the car, because you know how they always do like the BWT pink for like the first few races and then switch over to the blue, which by the way, Alpine, stick with that pink. Stick with it, but just imagine.
Hold on. And I can just imagine this, and honestly, like, this would be hilariously, but probably truthful. I could just see, like, Ryan letting his kids design, like, the livery for, like, one of the off seasons and, or, like, one of the off races that they do that for. I mean, could you imagine? Or even just a helmet. That would be so cute.
I want to see Ryan do a hot lap. I want to see Ryan do a hot lap, and I want to see Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes do hot laps because I feel like that would be so funny.
I feel like for some reason they wouldn't survive. Or they'd be like they hold on, they would survive because I mean, who most of us do, if you're going to be honest with you, but I could just imagine like the screams and like the holy shit and like gripping onto the car trying to like brace themselves or they're probably like let's go. And I mean, the football players have like all this neck strength, so the G forces wouldn't be like too bad, but they probably like be like thrown off by it.
I feel like Ryan might survive just because of all of the everything that goes into making a Deadpool movie alone. I feel like it's just insane.
True.
Let's just be honest. The one who would survive and take it as a pro would be Blake. Hands down. You
I
already
would
know it.
just love
Facts.
to see her paddock outfits.
I know. Same. I think I would really like to see her on the paddock. And I think like when you guys were talking about like the American influence and everything, I think they're moving very wisely with gaining that American population, just given some other connections with some of the other people within that cohort and all that stuff who can bring a very big influence into the sport. um so it's just like I don't know, it's just I feel like I'm always the type of person that's like everything is always thought out for a certain reason in this world.
And then also, let's not forget that Ryan and Blake are really good friends with Taylor, and Taylor is dating Travis. So, could we see Taylor Swift, in the paddocks one day? Like, could you imagine, like, all of our Swifty fans, and then imagine Fernando Alonso, like, because of that rumor? And then it's just like,
I would die the day that Taylor Swift and Blake Lively are in the paddock together. Is I would die. Especially, oh my god, the world would stop. Also, if there was any inkling that she would be at a race, I think that the Formula One fans would have an interesting time getting tickets versus the Swifties. If the Great Ticketmaster War of 2021 was any indicator.
That's true. Like, literally, the world goes insane. I mean, literally insane for Taylor Swift and her tickets. And people pay like thousands of dollars in travel all over the world for her. So imagine what that could do to the sport on top of a very popular, demanding sport. And it's already freaking expensive to go.
I hope it doesn't do too much damage as someone that genuinely wants to go to these races. So that's
It's
my feelings on
expensive.
that.
I don't think it will, honestly. I think that it's so unpredictable, like who's going to be there. I mean, the US races maybe because they're US, but I mean, we've already seen those prices on the rise. The USGP at Coda prices are on the rise. The Miami prices and the Vegas prices were just already kind of a lot. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting with all of the new sponsors for Alpine.
Yeah, in reference to like Atra Capital's contributions to the Alpine team. So, per the article that they signed as an investment team, they will be tasked with like helping drive global awareness. And that will be in contributions in areas such as like media, ticketing, hospitality. They will have commercial rights or be like in the commercial rights management side of it for Alpine, and then licensing and merchandising. So I wonder if we'll get like maybe like a little bit of a change to the merchandising since like they're a new sponsorship. I know they'll have their name, probably Otmar Capital will be on there, not necessarily Ryan Reynolds, Travis Kelsey, and all that, but they'll probably be grouped as one. But it's interesting to see what that will look like because they didn't really have much of that since they joined kind of mid season this year in 2023 or last year in 2023. I forget it's 2024. So I'm interested to see like what the minor changes could look like.
I was gonna say to add on to that with the changes and everything, I wonder how it could affect the driver lineup for the future. Cause like you said, Hannah, they came in midway or whenever during the season itself. So like they had that time to like adjust to the new leadership and all that stuff. But now it's like, okay, now you really had that downtime and everything and that whole like driver contracts and we know how silly season will be this upcoming summer. So I wonder how that can affect with that aspect with like Pierre's and Esteban's contract for their future with the team. Because I mean, I think it's kind of cool how like a French team has both French drivers. It'd be cool for them to stay like that, but to be a fly on the wall during those conversations.
I agree. I think this upcoming silly season is going to probably be one of the best yet because there's so many drivers up for like either new teams or reconsideration, contract negotiation, all that. So we could either see a completely new paddock or we could see some crazy changes between the teams because I mean some of the majors are like losing drivers or gonna have the option to change their drivers, and I could just see some craziness happening. So I honestly can't wait. But it's kind of funny you say that because I really don't. I would love to believe that both French drivers are going to stay together, but I have also like this really weird like thought in my mind that that might not be the case just due to the fact that they've had so many management changes as well. Like, I swear to God, I've never seen so many changes happen so quickly. It was like one thing after another this season of course, the bad and good news for the team. It's like, give us a break. Like, your fans, give us a break. I don't know. But I don't know. I think maybe they need to figure out the management side before they change the driver's side because the driver's side, at least you stay consistent. And now that we've talked about all the crazy changes of Alpine and the unknown expectations of the principals at Alpine, let's move on to recent news and talk about Gunther Steiner and Haas. On January 10th, it was announced that he would no longer be with the company. And that is absolutely insane as someone who not only is probably a love hate relationship between all of us, because I mean, we all know, but he also, for our DTS girlies, is probably going to be very dearly missed.
Can't say I wasn't too shocked about the news. Um, Good luck to you, Gunther. We'll miss your little silly moments. However, they did promote within the team, and I love to see that. So, he was former director of engineering, and he's been promoted to team principal Ayo Komatsu. So again, wishing him the best of luck this upcoming season and everything. It's the same situation as like Alpine, as we spoke about. The driver lineup seems pretty good. So hopefully, whoever decided this change, it works out for them. Again, I'm just gonna miss the little silly sayings and moments that we got out of Gunther, especially from DTS.
Yeah, and they Haas as a whole had a very, very rough year in 2023. And so that had to have put some precedence on the decision that was made to go in a new direction with IO. So I'm not necessarily surprised, but here's like a left field. Could we see Gunther in Audi when Audi joins the team and he make his like comeback DTS return? I wouldn't be surprised.
I feel like that would be really interesting. I'm very curious to see how the Audi team comes together when that time, like when all of those announcements are being made. I'm also very interested to see season 6 of Drive to Survive now, with Otmar's leaving, because Otmar left like halfway through the season. And now I'm wondering if we'll get to see some of the behind the scenes as to like how Haas was functioning and like maybe parts of why Gunther was like left Haas.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I don't know. Now I have it in my head, like I can just imagine, similar to like the Danny instance, was he just like returns, walks in, sits, and goes, I'm back. Like with his arms crossed.
I feel like if he does anything with Audi, it would be any like PR related. Because I just feel like it would probably be wise for them to not have him as team principal. But what do I know? That's my opinion. But I can definitely see him be more like a PR face for like the team, just to like bring in the fans. Because again, we all know everyone loves to hate the guy at the end of the day. And it's like what Red Bull did with Danny at the beginning of last year.
He could also be brought on not necessarily as team principal, but like in a different role in like some other capacity. I'm wondering if he'd even want a team principal role, because I feel like the Haas team principal is a very stressful experience.
I agree. I think it's really hard for the Haas team because Gene is so heavily involved in that aspect to where it's almost like you have to report every little thing to him, which I don't know if that's the same with every other team because we don't see that. That's kind of closed doors to at least our viewing. But at least from a Haas perspective, it is probably got to be very hard. They also were in last place this year, which probably or last place in like 2023, which is probably also going to be like harder because in 2022 I believe they finished in 8th. So like you took that huge step back, and then they had like good first rate like one lap pace, but they couldn't move it over to like race day and stay consistent in that like lap pace to where like it was just a struggle. And you can see it on the whole Haas's team where it was like wearing on them. I'd be surprised if we don't see Gunter back in some form of fashion with some team doing anything related to Formula One because he's got over 20 years of experience or something like that. Because I know he worked for like British American Racing, plus like a long time with Reynolds, and then Haas, which he was with for like a long time as well. So I feel like racing is in his blood. But we did see Ferrari's team principal like dip as well last year and not come back either in any form of fashion. So you never know. Could be retirement. They make enough.
I could definitely see him taking a like kind of sabbatical, being like, I need a break from this. I'm gonna go chill. I'm gonna go on another wine tour with Mattia. Make a Netflix should just, now that they're both not acting team principal, like working as team principals anymore, they need to do a spin-off with Mattia and Gunter just doing a wine tour around Italy.
The occasional cameo from Otmar. Imagine. But I was gonna say he can always come back as a team advisor. I can see him doing that too, because like again, like you guys said, he has like the experience, and I can just imagine how hard it is to leave the racing world itself, and you probably want to be involved one way or another after so many years. So hey, you could probably do that, or like those like non-executive, non-official directors, team, whatever those roles are, where it's like they're there, but it's like not officially.
He could be like another Helmut Marko, to where like he's that like that advisor between like the academy and Haas and like help out in that way. Like that would be interesting. I think Gunter might be a little too rough or harsh for our little kids who are still learning, but it would be interesting. Just a thought.
I don't think he could be as harsh as Helmut, so, might be okay.
But I know that Gunther Steiner hasn't come out officially and said anything in regards to that. It's been really directed by Haas and Gene in regards to this. But I am anticipating / hoping that Gunther comes out and says something and makes a statement in regards to this. But I could also see him bowing out in silence.
I can see him bowing out in silence and then maybe having, like, in DTS kind of a little, like, his last, like, little talking head thing interview. Being like, yep, and kind of giving a statement then, maybe.
Oh, DTS filmers are probably running around with their heads cut off, like fire burning in the building. Like, oh my God, I needed to get this on camera. What happened? Let's add it. We got to get this in. Like, because that would have been, in my mind, I would think that that would be like great content.
They were definitely freaking out and being like, who's going to be our comedic relief of the show? Who's going to bring the viewers back again? Because he definitely was that guy. And again, I will miss those little things. So I can just imagine Netflix right now, like you said, Hannah, the office on fire. That's all I like imagined was like that SpongeBob office on fire, like millions of SpongeBob's just like running around trying to figure out what to do next.
Someone make that meme. Let's go.
At least they've still got Danny Rick. We got him back, so thankfully that'll help with some ratings a little bit.
And now to round us out with this episode, we are going to talk about the moment of the season, 2023. And our quote is going to be not necessarily a quote, but a statement. And that is going to be talking about how both drivers, Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon, aka Esty Bestie and Tripod, ends up getting both third place podiums this season, which is in my head iconic because they were like the same consistency throughout the season, and it was a lot of firsts for the team in a really long time. So with that, really excited to see that and hope 2024 brings more podiums for them. I mean, we'd love to see it.
And that's another team spotlight in the books, baby. What teams are you looking forward to learning about still? Let us know on our socials. Everywhere we are at Paddock Girls Podcast, except Twitter. There you can find us at Paddock Girls Pod. Thanks for joining us in the paddock today. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Toodaloo.
Bye. Have a good one.
Goodbye, everyone.